Today we are recapping live and we are going through the 14-game monster NBA slate that was pretty crazy in the end. Lots of close games, lots of big stat lines. We're going to break it all down and talk all things fantasy basketball. Let's go!
Jordan open. Chicago with the lead. Bryant to Shaq.
Not a game. We talking about practice.
LeBron James with no regard for human life. Irresponsible!
Back out to Allen. His three-pointer. Bang!
Hurry for three. Wow! Unbelievable. Making it rain in New York.
We the North are now we the champions.
Not the destination, it's the journey. Mamba out.
Sorry, g'day and welcome to the Ball Boys Fantasy Basketball Podcast. I'm your host, Mitch Casey, and you can find me on Twitter at Ball Boys Fantasy. And today we are live talking over on YouTube, and later this will be available, of course, over on the podcast platforms of your choice. We're going to be discussing the 14-game monster slate that the NBA had on today. Tried out my best to keep up with as many games and stat lines as I possibly could, flicking between games like a freaking madman. And there is actually a lot for us to talk about today. A lot of injury news, a lot of close games, a lot of stat lines, and interesting rotation decisions. So we are going to get stuck into it. If you are over here live, drop a like down in the video, guys. Would really, really appreciate it. It goes a long way to helping the podcast out, helping the YouTube channel out. So drop a like if you're here live. And if you're here later, drop a like on that one as well. Drop your questions down in the chat room, and I'll see if I have time to get through some of them, but there is a lot for us to discuss today, so I can't make any promises, but we are going to get through over onto the games straight away. All right, and after this video, if you've done watching this one, you can also go and check out the buy low and sell high videos, which has dropped the last couple of days. Couple of the sell high guys still put up a good game so far, so you still have a bit of an opportunity to capitalize on the value. Let's talk about the games. All right, the first game we are talking about today is the Washington Wizards and the Charlotte Hornets. Now, first of all, this is interestingly starting to, I don't know, it's by no means an awesome game, but there are signs of life here, I believe, for Jordan Poole. And the signs of life I'm referring to is the fact that he had 21 field goal attempts to Kuzma's 22. It's still nowhere near where I thought it would be, but he had 4 free throw attempts to everyone else's less than that. Kuzma had 1. And he had, 4 threes? Only a couple of assists, but 3 steals and 24 points. This is more like what I expected from Jordan Poole this season. The last 2 games, the usage rate is up, and the usage rate is about where I expected it to be. He played 33 minutes in this game, and yes, you can still pick apart this game. He was inefficient. He had 3 turnovers. He didn't, have any blocks. We're not expecting those things from Jordan Poole, but these kind of strengths are what I was expecting from him. 4 threes, great. 4 from 4, 100% from the free throw line, 24 points. I don't expect 3 steals, but he's been getting more steals this season so far. Maybe the assists can come up a little bit. He had 2 versus Kuzma's freaking 10 assists, which, I don't know, maybe Kuzma's just running point forward. So maybe Poole is not going to get any assists because Kyle Kuzma's on the team. Never thought I'd say that sentence. But yeah, he's looking up, and I'm not getting ahead of myself, but there's at least a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel, I believe. Let's hope, if you have him on your fantasy team, that this continues to occur. For the rest of the Wizards, a big game here from Daniel Gafford. Finally played a big game of minutes, 34 minutes, 16 rebounds. He didn't have any blocks, but had a steal, 15 points, shot 7 of 9 from the field as well. Missed one of his 2 free throws. Pretty standard Daniel Gafford night. Big rebounding numbers. He's not always the strongest rebounder, but he got them in this one here. If only the blocks came along with it. And a Tyus Jones game, which is pretty handy for people who have him. 13.7 assists, 2 steals. He was 50% from the field, hit a 3. This is good. This is good, Tyus Jones. Now, if you can guarantee he plays 35 minutes every night, he can be a top 100 guy. We just haven't been able to guarantee that so far. It was a close game in the end, only lost by 3 points. And they were up, I believe, they were up a fair bit going into the fourth quarter. So kind of choked it away in the end there. But yeah, I think the closer games, clearly the better players played more. Danny Avdija did his thing. He's been solid-ish as a back-end guy. I think he's fine to keep on your roster. Kyle Kuzma is continuing to put up some really big lines this season, and he's been somewhat efficient as well so far. In this game, he was 28 points, over 50% shooting, 3 threes, hit his only free throw, 9 rebounds, 10 assists. 1 rebound away from that triple-double, which a lot of you guys give extra stats and points and things for, which I never quite, liked, but you'd be annoyed that he didn't get the triple-double. Had the steal and 2 blocks. Massive, massive game here from Kyle Kuzma. That is bloody awesome. Bilal Coulibaly is not helping us too much. Now, hopefully in a game or a day like this when there was 14 NBA games on, he is someone that you weren't really starting. So it doesn't really hurt you, but so far I'm not as convinced that he's going to be a guy that's going to change life for you in fantasy basketball leagues, especially not in points leagues. I don't think he's worth the stash in a points league. In a category league, you can still continue to stash him, but know that it is that. It is a luxury stash. The thing that makes me also not super excited is the fact that we've seen him in several games this season play 30-plus minutes, and even in those minutes, it hasn't been super exciting. He's very much reliant on defensive stats, and we know the volatility and variation game to game with stats like that. So you can continue to stash him if there's not much on your waiver wire, but if you need the production right now, I don't think he's really going to... He's not going to make you regret it, I don't think, later in the season all that much. So those are my thoughts on Bilal. And the Charlotte Hornets got the W here by 3 points, and I haven't had a chance to talk about him since he came back and started playing games, but Miles Bridges is back in the starting lineup. He played the second most amount of minutes in this game with 37, behind only LaMelo Ball, who played 40. He had 33 points, the second highest usage on this team as well, also behind LaMelo Ball. 8 of 10 from the free throw line, efficient from the field, 11 from 18, had 10 rebounds, 2 steals, no assists or blocks, but he did hit 3 threes, and I believe that Miles Bridges is just going to basically pick up where he left off from the last season he played. I thought he would actually have more rust than this, but no, he's just picking back up. And if you have no moral objections, I think obviously he needs to be rostered in fantasy basketball leagues, and I think he has a chance to be a top 75, top 70 player. Now, when he was the guy 2 seasons ago that, I think he was top 50 or even top 40 potentially in 9-cat rankings, I don't think that actually reflects his value because it's boosted a little bit by low turnovers. And also, he's one of those players that is like a Tobias Harris, like a Nikola Vucevic, where he's good at everything, not great at anything. So his biggest thing was points, which I think he was like a 21 or 22 point per game scorer, which was his best value. But everything else was kind of just average or slightly above average. So when it comes to -1 rankings and punt rankings and things like that, he just gets lowered down a little bit in that kind of metric when valuing players. So I do think that if you're expecting him to be a top 40 player like he was, quote unquote, 2 seasons ago, I think that's a bit misleading. But I do think he's going to basically do similar to what he did there. The minutes are a big sign because one of the big things in that season was he was averaging basically 36 minutes a night. He's already there. I think, his 3rd or 4th game back starting. And I know there's still Terry Rozier to come back, but in all honesty, I think Bridges is the last person we need to worry about. Speaking of players that we might need to worry about, Gordon Hayward played 30 minutes, had 4 points, 9 rebounds, 6 assists, no defensive stats, misses only 3-point attempt. He is trending towards a drop pretty quickly. I do think there is a scenario where you can hold on because I think it was just last game where he had 27 points or something like that. The troubling thing to me is that since Bridges has come back into the team, his usage has been going down. So in the last, and it was even kind of trending that way before that. I'm just trying to look up his usage rate for the last several games, but he definitely is taking fewer shots in the last few games than he was to begin the season, where a lot of his value was sky high. So, yeah, let's have a look at his last few games. So, this game, he obviously took 8 field goal attempts. Last game where he did score 20, not 27, my mistake, he took 15 shots. That was in an overtime game where he played 39 minutes. So, maybe it's not quite that high if it was a regular game. 7 field goal attempts the game before, 9 the game before that, and 9 the game before that. Prior to that, his field goal attempts was 20, 14, 23, 17, 11, 11, 15. So there's a clear distinction that since that game and the blowout against New York, he also missed the game after that with hamstring tightness. His usage has been down. The minutes and everything are still there, but the ball is not going through him quite as much, and he's never been a guy that's a huge defensive stat getter. He's actually averaging a decent amount of steals so far this season, but that's never really been a huge strength of his. He might be able to get you 1 or maybe as high as 1.2 steals, but it's not enough to float the rest of his value, I don't think. So I believe that if it was me that had Gordon Hayward, I do have him in a 14-team league. I am holding a little bit, but if there is a better option out there, and if you look at your roster and feel like he is your worst player, I don't think he's someone that you should never consider dropping. He might be there already, but I'm usually pretty stubborn and patient, and I'll wait a couple more games, but if you're less patient than me, I think you can go ahead and drop him. Brandon Miller, still getting the start. He had 31 minutes in this game. Had 15 points, but really nothing else. He had 3 threes as well, 3 assists and a steal. This is my concern with Brandon Miller, is that he is very empty when it comes to his stat line, and he is probably the person, him and Gordon Hayward, I think are going to be the 2 people that get affected the most when a Terry Rozier comes back. And I think Miller is, even if he's healthy and playing 30-plus minutes a night, he's quite limited in terms of his fantasy value. Kind of just like a points and threes streamer is more how I would view him, with not a huge amount of upside to be much greater, even if things kind of go right for him. LaMelo Ball continues to crush it these last couple of weeks. 34 points, 13 assists, 8 rebounds, and a steal. Hit 6 threes, played 40 minutes. Field goal percentage hurts, but that's what you got when you were drafting LaMelo Ball. Hopefully you guys all expected that and have built the appropriate team around him, but he was really good here, and nothing really else to watch on this one. So we shall move on. Let's go to the Denver Nuggets versus the Orlando Magic. So on this game, it was a close. It's actually a pretty gutsy win for the Orlando Magic. But we'll talk about the Denver Nuggets first. They obviously played Nikola Jokic a big amount of minutes, 36 minutes here. He continues to be awesome. The scoring is higher because of Jamal Murray missing a bunch of time, which is really nice. Hit his free throws today, which have been kind of down a little bit, but triple-double, 30 points, 13 rebounds, 12 assists, 3 steals, 2 blocks. He's just a beast. What else should we talk about in this game here? KCP kind of came down after he had a good game last game with Jokic being ejected. Went back to doing just basically what he does. Didn't have a steal here. Is that the first game where he hasn't got a steal? Let me know in the chat below. I believe that's his first game without a steal, which is really the only reason you have him on your roster. Reggie Jackson kind of did okay. 14 points, 9 assists is valuable. He's useful in 12-team category leagues. He's by no means a must-have, but again, if you're happy to live with the poor efficiency and lack of defensive stats, then you could do worse than Reggie Jackson whilst Jamal Murray is out. If you need the assists, if you don't need the assists, then there's not too much reason to have Reggie Jackson on your team, but he can be all right. And even then, the assists aren't amazing because a lot of it does run through Jokic. Michael Porter Jr. and Aaron Gordon continue to do their things. They just work so well on this team off Jokic. The 2 wing big boys, yeah, I just think that everything they're doing right now, I think they can continue. So I don't believe that either one of them are much of a sell high. I've been really happy with my selection of Aaron Gordon in the industry pickup league. He is serving my team quite nicely. Nothing really on the bench here. Christian Brown returned back to a lower usage role and a lower minutes role after last game where he kind of went off. 13 points, 7 rebounds, and assists. He is someone we can safely leave on the waiver wire for 12-team leagues. And yeah, nothing really else to talk about here. The Orlando Magic, like we said, got a big win. And I want to focus first and foremost on the center battle and Goga Badatse, who seems to, in the last 2 or 3 games, really won more share of the minutes for the Orlando Magic center battle. Now, I believe Wendell Carter Jr. is about a week away or so from returning. So it'll be interesting to see how things happen and how things are distributed and whether Goga has won the complete backup role, or if he'll go back to not playing like he was before the injury for Wendell Carter Jr., or if that even takes some minutes away from Wendell, because he has been playing really well, and the Orlando Magic are obviously doing a really good job and winning basketball games. So he was solid here. 6 points only, but 12 rebounds, 2 assists, a block. He hit both his free throws, which were clutch down the stretch of the game. Normally, you'd expect him to shoot better from the field, but he's been good. I think he had, 5 assists, 6 assists last game. He had 4 or 5 blocks. And the 32 minutes is the big thing here compared to Mo Wagner's 15 minutes. And that's interesting. And that's happened 2 games in a row as well. So very interesting there. And 2 games in a row where Jonathan Isaac hasn't gotten a lot of minutes. He kind of was getting some minutes down the stretch as kind of the center for this team, but they've gone away from that recently, and I think it's due to the fact that Goga is doing his thing. I continue to love Jalen Suggs. He is just, I love the way he plays, man. Anytime, and this is my thing as well, if you don't know, I'm really biased when it comes to players who play great defense. They hustle hard. They're not... they're not reliant on their shot going in. They're always going to bring something. That's just kind of my type of player. And Jalen Suggs fits that description to a T. And so I've drafted him a lot of leagues, and I'm very happy with his production so far. And he, to me, if he's on a waiver wire for whatever reason in a category league, go and add him. He is, to me, a must-roster player in all category leagues, 10s and 12s. Points leagues, less so, but I still think he's someone you could probably have on your team in a points league, because he, to me, is a contender for the most improved player this season so far, particularly his offensive improvement. Franz Wagner finally had a really big game, a nice game here, 27 points. Still didn't really bring it on the rebounds and assists, but had a steal and 2 blocks. 11 from 18 from the field, efficient, 4 of 4 from the line. I would love to see those free throw attempts get a little bit higher and more volume of threes. So I'm not sure if the true breakout is going to happen this year, because I still don't know really who's the best player on this team. Is it Paolo? Is it Franz? I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think the best player on this team is Paolo Banchero or Franz Wagner? I think it's actually looking more like Paolo. And I'm surprised to say that. I was a big kind of Franz the best player on this team, but he hasn't taken the step forward that I thought he would yet. So I actually think that Paolo is just got his nose in front as the best player on this team. They're obviously working very well together, and it's not that big of a difference, but he's... I don't know. Interesting. I don't know. If you drafted Franz, are you disappointed? I'm slightly underwhelmed by his start to the season. Paolo brought defensive stats today, 3 blocks and a steal, 4 assists, and was super efficient, which is not always something you can say. He did go 60% from the free throw line, which does kind of hurt, but pretty good game from him. As for the bench, Cole Anthony played well in this game as well. 20 points, 5 rebounds, no assists, steals, or blocks though, but 7 of 8 from the free throw line. He is someone you can, again, stream for free throws and points, and usually he can hit you a couple more threes than this. So I think that's all he's really useful for. He's not a must-roster player for category leagues or points leagues, but he is a guy that you can stream in. Obviously not on a day like this, but yes. And Jonathan Isaac, we're kind of watching his minutes, but I just don't think it's going to get there. More just a defensive stat streamer only, in my opinion. Let's go to the overtime game, and obviously a very exciting game here. The Brooklyn Nets just narrowly lost to the Atlanta Hawks after a couple of clutch free throws from Trae Young. Mikal Bridges went crazy in this game. A huge game from him. 45 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals. He's super efficient, over 50% from the field, 11 from 12 from the free throw line, hit a couple of threes as well. Only turned the ball over once, if you care about that. Really, really good game from him. He's been, to me as well, a little bit underwhelming, but you'd be absolutely loving this performance. And nothing bad to say about him here. But I guess so far on the season, he's not been, hasn't been a second-round player so far. But I guess maybe one of the reasons you drafted him is because he doesn't miss games. And so far, I don't think he has, but I don't know. Does it feel worth it right now? Does it feel worth the draft pick? I mean, obviously, I'm asking after a huge game like this, and right now, it might feel worth it. Spencer Dinwiddie, big game from him as well. 26 points, 12 assists, 6 rebounds. No defensive stats like always, but he played 42 minutes, and obviously the Ben Simmons confirmed injury or extended injury, I think helps Spencer Dinwiddie. He was a guy that we were panicking about in, I think, the second week of the NBA season when we made that video. That was when Ben Simmons was healthy or just after his injury, where we didn't think it was super serious. He has bounced back in a decent way and definitely needs to be someone we have on our roster for sure. There's still going to be ups and downs with him. The efficiency is always going to be an issue, and he's never going to be a big defensive stat guy. But the points, the assists, and the threes are definitely worthwhile, and he can fit some builds very well. So he is a must-roster player, and a nice game here. Claxton had a really big game as well. 22 points, 11 rebounds, 3 assists, a steal, 3 blocks, 66% from the field, hit both his free throws. Just an absolute all-around great line. And Cam Johnson, talking about the buy low player that we said he was, he got the bump. 23 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals. He hit 5 threes, both his free throws, and really efficient from the field as well. So does that close the buy low window? Maybe you might have one more chance to sneak in if someone thinks this is maybe a bit of a lucky shot. I don't know, but this is more of what I expect from Cam Johnson moving forward. This is obviously a really good game. He won't be quite this efficient, but obviously very encouraging, and the fact that he also played 38 minutes is a good sign as well. And yeah, a lot of the guys that we were streaming earlier, Royce O'Neal, Dorian Finney-Smith, even the fact that he played 38 minutes, but the usage is down. I think you can safely move on from those guys if you were streaming them in category leagues. I think the upside is not really all that high now that a couple of those guys are back, and we still have Cam Thomas to come back. So I'd be on the hunt for the next kind of streaming player if you were streaming those ones. Over to the Atlanta Hawks, friggin' DeAndre Hunter. This bloody bloke, I streamed him yesterday on the low volume day, and in a game where they score 300 bloody points, he gives me 7 points. And then in this game, on a 14-game NBA slate where he's obviously sitting on my bench, 25 points, goes 50% from the field, hit all 7 of his free throws, 11 rebounds, a steal, and 2 blocks. Where the hell was this yesterday, mate? What do you do? That's just, he is taking the piss, surely. Like, that is insulting. Obviously, he doesn't give a shit what I think about him and my fantasy team, but frustrating, nonetheless. Very frustrating. Jalen Johnson played 40 minutes here, but he wasn't as good as we have expected him to be. 7 points, but he still contributed 6 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, and a block. 5 turnovers, and not super efficient from the field. Kind of hurts, but with how good he's been, you live with that. Trae Young, obviously, I've skipped over him. He's the title of this video, but he went crazy. 43 points, 9 assists, 2 steals. 11 from 13 from the free throw line is excellent. 8 threes of 16 attempts. Really great when he can bomb the threes in that like that. Obviously, the field goal percentage overall is bad, but like we said with LaMelo Ball, hopefully when you were drafting Trae Young, you factored this into and you took this into account, because if you maybe a lot of people might have started this season and have both LaMelo and Trae Young. And if you've got that, that's a pretty bloody good start to a draft. Really, really solid. DeJounte Murray had a good game. He'd been a little bit down, especially in the assist department. So 8 assists here is really nice to see. 2 steals is also great. The threes are a little bit higher for him, which is a nice surprise. So he's kind of chugging along, kind of doing what he's doing, and I think he'll be fine. I don't think he's going to be a huge bargain, but he's going to be okay. Okongwu, 25 minutes compared to Capella's 27. What does that equal up to? That goes up to the full amount of time. So they both split the time there. 12 points, 10 rebounds, and a block. 60% from the field. Great. That's exactly what you want from a Okongwu in 25 minutes. Continue to hold at some point this season. I do think Capella's going to get traded. The Hawks are 7-7. They might need to pull a trigger, but I do think at some point Okongwu is going to be a guy that potentially has a chance to really blow up. And even in this type of role, he's basically returning what you paid for him on draft day. So no need to panic there. Sadiq Bey had, 12 points, 2 rebounds, 2 steals. Take that and run. Hit 1 3. You can hold him for the Saturday, Sunday back-to-back and stream him if you want, if you like that sort of stuff. And Bogdanovic, he's been doing really well, actually, and a serviceable game here. Shot poorly from the field, 33% from there, but still gave you 3 threes, a steal and a block, and 3 assists. So he is definitely someone that you can have as a back-end sort of fantasy player as well. All right, a couple of close games, and then we're going to move on into a blowout game. Let me know what you are thinking, guys. Are you happy that we're doing the live show? I can see bunch of you guys in here listening along. So again, if you are enjoying the fact that this one is live and we are doing it a little bit earlier than normal, drop a big thumbs up on the video, guys. Would really, really appreciate that. And if you haven't already, for whatever reason, go and hit that subscribe button. Or if you're listening over long on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or whatever, give it a subscribe there and a 5-star rating. We might see if we can get time to some questions at the end. But if you're here in the chat as well, just drop down some questions, and I'm sure you guys can sort of help each other out. That's what the fantasy community is all about. So please keep chatting along there and helping each other out in the chat down below, guys. Miami Heat versus the Cleveland Cavaliers. Bit of a blowout here. Smashed the Cavs by 33 points here in the end. And we didn't even have any Bam Adebayo. So Thomas Bryant started, but anytime that Bam Adebayo misses, the guy that I'm interested in is Orlando Robinson, because he came in 28 minutes now. A little bit of that was garbage time, but 14 points, 9 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal, 2 blocks. He hit a 3. He was extremely efficient. The only blemish in his line is that he missed, one of his 2 free throws. But all around, he is an excellent fantasy producer, excellent per minute guy. I think he is better than Thomas Bryant right now from a basketball point of view. He offers a lot more. And I just think he's a decent player. He's young, and I think that by the end of this season, he will be playing over him. Deep leagues, you want to have a look at him, and any time in the future, if Bam is missing time, we look to stream Orlando Robinson, because I do believe he has a really good fantasy game. Continuing on the bench here, Hami Hake, did I say that right? Hami Hakes, 22 points, 8 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal, 70% from the field, and all 4 of his threes went down, which is great. But look at this game. What is repeatable? Is he going to be a 70% guy from the field? Probably not. Is he going to be a 100% shooter from the 3-point line? Probably not. If he goes 2 of 3, that brings him down to 50% from the field. 2 of 4. He goes down to 50% from the field, and he's got 16 and 8, an assist and a steal, 2 threes. I mean, that's still a really good line. Don't get me wrong. So he is someone that we could look to add, see where it goes. But again, in a game without Bam, where the usage might go to him a little bit more, he still is coming off the bench. Tyler Hero is eventually going to factor back into this as well. He's not someone I think's got long-term appeal, but maybe in the short term you can have a look at him because he has been putting up a few games together that is noteworthy. So interesting to see him continue to put up good lines, but I'm not really that excited. I don't really think he's a must-add, but he has some short-term appeal. The other thing here is Caleb Martin starting to ramp up his minutes. 14 points, 3 steals, 3 rebounds, and an assist. Not really anyone we need to be interested in 12-team leagues, but it just kind of adds to the confusion of these Heat players like Martin, Harkes, Highsmith, even Kyle Lowry, especially when Hero was back, Duncan Robinson when Hero was back. There's just a bunch of guys kind of just eating into each other's value and production that I believe when the team is healthy, it's going to be difficult for a lot of them to kind of give you reliable production for your fantasy rosters. Speaking of Kyle Lowry, he went friggin' nuts in this game. Had 70% from 3. That's not going to happen, but if you had him, chances are he was on your bench. But, I mean, far out. Turn back the clock. Similar kind of situation with our boy DeAndre Hunter here. Like, where was this the last few games if you had him on your roster? Because unlikely you probably used him in a slate like today. And it fell back to earth from Duncan Robinson. Only took the 7 shots, was a little bit concerning. 1 of 3 from 3. He was a team best 30 plus 32 and plus minus. So must have been doing something right out there, or just was in the lucky lineups. 7 points. He's someone I'd still keep holding as long as Tyler Hero is out. But if these other guys, Caleb Martin, Hami Hakes, are playing well, I don't think that he's a guy that they make sure gets his shots. And when he doesn't get his shots, his value is a lot lower, obviously. June Butler struggled a little bit in this game. 10 points, 9 assists, 2 steals, 2 blocks. Only hit 1 of 5 from 3. 25% from the field. Don't worry about him. Obviously, he will be fine. Don't stress. I don't think anyone else. Highsmith is just a back-end guy, not really a 12-team option in my opinion. And same with Thomas Bryant, especially obviously when Bam comes back. Cleveland Cavaliers, again, it's a blowout. So a lot of this you can kind of throw out there, throw out of the window, I should say. Let's talk about Craig Porter Jr. He is a bit of a flavor of the month at the moment, and he's playing really well. Really good basketball. And he's probably earned himself a significant, well, I don't know if I should say significant piece of the rotation, but he's definitely going to be a part of the rotation, even when some of these guys do come back. I believe LeVert was on a bit of a minutes limit today. He played 18. It's unclear whether that was because of the blowout or the fact that the minutes limit stopped him from getting higher. So his minutes could potentially start to rise. You've also obviously got Mitchell to come back into things. But he played 35 minutes, even in a blowout. Like we had Isaiah Mobley played 9 minutes. So you know that this game was clearly done in the final 9 minutes. I don't know if he's worth dropping anything decent for. But if Mitchell is out again on the weekend, and I believe they've got the double-double back-to-back, he is definitely someone that you can look to add and stream. And he's going to be able to give you some decent assists, some decent scoring. He's not, I wouldn't say he's a huge three-point guy, but the scoring is nice. The assists are nice. He can probably get you a couple of defensive stats as well. He's a really solid guy. In deep leagues, I'd be adding him and stashing and just kind of seeing. Like if I'm in a 16-team league, I'd add him. And even when Mitchell comes back, I'd kind of just wait and see because, I don't know, there might be something there. He's really looked impressive. But I do think in 12s, as soon as those guys are healthy, he will fade back and we will be dropping him. But with Mitchell unclear on his status over the weekend, I think you can add him now and at least get a couple of games from him on Saturday and Sunday. The rest of this game you can kind of throw out. I'll touch on Jarrett Allen, who played 23 minutes here. He obviously played a big game. I believe, was it yesterday that they played? Did they have the back-to-back today? The last game he played a big role, scored 26 points, something like that. And looked good. So his minutes limit is done. Like he's not restricted because of a minutes limit here. He played 23 minutes because the game was over. Like, for example, Garland played 27, Mobley played 25. So his 23 minutes is not a result of a minutes limit. It's a result of the fact the game was a blowout. And I expect him not to be a 33-minute-a-night guy. He's probably more of a 28 to 29-minute-a-night player, in my opinion. There's a lot of centers going onto the bench a little bit more. There's a lot more small ball being played in the NBA, and you've got the Evan Mobley factor. I do think that he is, basically what he's doing right now. Maybe it's a tiny bit of a buy low, but I actually don't think it's much of one. I think he is going to be someone who doesn't return the value that we expected, or at least the value that he put up last season. I think he's going to be worse this year than he was last season. And his rank was, I think he was top 40 or something, and that's in 9 category rankings. And I think that's a bit of a misleading ranking of a player like Allen as well, because it's really tied up in low turnovers, like 1.3 blocks and 60% from the field without really hurting you anywhere. It's not a rank of a player who's really helping your team win in a number of different categories, I don't believe. So he's someone that was in the bust videos in the preseason, and nothing's really changed my mind so far on him. All right, continuing to power on. We're going to talk about my Boston Celtics. I'm wearing the shirt today, representing big win over the Milwaukee Bucks. Nearly tried to stuff it up at the end there, but we got through. We'll talk about the Milwaukee Bucks, and pretty poor game from, well, not that bad, but poor shooting night from both the stars, Giannis Antetokounmpo and Damian Lillard. Giannis especially, he's had some big games this year where he's dominated, gone like 80% from the field, and he's also had these games where he just, super loose with the ball, like doesn't, finish properly when you expect him to, just barges people over, charges, gets caught up and a bit just all over the place, a bit out of control. He's been doing that more this season than I feel like I've seen in the past. I don't know if it's just them kind of getting used to playing with Lillard and things like that. I don't know, but in a lot of games, a lot more games that I remember seeing of Giannis recently, he's been very much out of control. And but obviously 21 points, 13 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals is good. The efficiency from the field and the free throw line is not good, but he obviously will be better. Chris Middleton, look at this, guys. Look at this, 29 minutes for Chris Middleton. If you've held on to him, guys, we've made it. We've gotten through 29 minutes. Let's go. Obviously, not his best game, but 12 points, 7 assists, a steal, hit 2 threes, both his free throws, 5 rebounds. It's enough. It is enough. I think he can be top 100 from here, top 90 more likely. I don't think he's going to be someone who's going to blow us away because he still has to fit into this Giannis and Lillard situation. It obviously hurt his value from the outset, but if you have been holding on to him through this minutes restriction and one of the slowest ramp-ups that I've seen in a long, probably ever, what are we, week 5 in the NBA now, and he's only just, still hasn't cracked 30 minutes, but 29 minutes in a game like this is very encouraging, and shout out to you guys if you've held on to him, and let me know down in the comment section below. If you've been a Chris Middleton holder this entire time, props to you. I tip my hat. Brook Lopez was really good in this one, 28 points. Really high usage on this one. He kind of, really, to take 2 fewer shots than Giannis in this game is not something we'll see a lot of. Only had the 1 block, but you can't complain about that game. Beasley hit his 2 threes, which is, again, in a slate like this, you don't really care. So we don't really need to touch on much else. Only 2 free throw attempts for Lillard is kind of annoying because that's kind of been where he's been getting a lot of his value, but he'll continue to be fine. The Boston Celtics, they're always not a very interesting team to talk about. They ran a very tight 8-man rotation in this one, which was interesting. Obviously, this is going to be a big matchup for them in the playoffs, so I guess a bit of practicing what they're going to be doing in that playoff series. So 8 guys, which means everyone played all right. Al Horford was solid for a stream. I don't know if you would have done it in a day like this, but if you did, you'd be pretty happy with it. 11 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists, and a block. Drew, let's talk about Drew. 5 points. He's been a bit of a letdown to me, more so because of the assists and the steals have been lacking. I did expect him to take a hit in his point scoring. That's fine. I had that in mind, but I thought he would get better or more opportunities to get some more assists, and I thought the steals were going to go up because that was going to be his focus. He's coming into this team to be the Marcus Smart, and I thought he would return. He, I think, in 3 previous seasons before last year, averaged 1.6 steals per game, and he's not doing that so far. So it can turn, obviously, but so far I've been a bit disappointed in Drew Holiday, even though I kind of dropped his value after he came to the Celtics. I've still been a little bit let down, but hopefully he can bring those numbers back up, the assists and steals especially. Jaylen Brown had a good one, 8 assists. Don't expect to see that very often, but he is still like the 84th ranked player this season, and he was the number 1 bust candidate for category leagues because he was going top 40, and he is doing exactly what I thought he would do. Every now and again, he's going to have a great game. He's still a great player. Scoring is still going to be his big thing. 26 points is great. It's fine, but if you expect him to put up 8 assists regularly, you're going to be disappointed. And he doesn't rebound all that well. His defensive stats are not that great either for a guy who is a good defender. He's not always the most efficient. If you're thinking that he's a bit of a buy low, I would reassess that. I actually think that what he's been doing thus far to the season is kind of exactly what he's going to continue to do, unless someone else like Tatum or Porzingis goes down with an injury. Then he'll take a step up. But whilst everyone's healthy, this is more of what I expect from Jaylen Brown. Obviously, good game here. Let's move on. Let's go to the wild Indiana Pacers that anything can happen in a Pacers game. And unfortunately, they lost this one in a close game. Raptors get up by 1 point in the end. Pascal Siakam. We're going to talk about him because he is back, obviously. He's kind of back. Some games he's back. Some games he's not so back. And this game he was back. Obviously, 24 points, led the team in usage. 11 free throw attempts is great. He hit 9 of them. That's all right. 10 rebounds, 4 assists, and a block. All very good. They can't kind of seem to get him going and Scotty Barnes going at the same time, which is... It's weird, and I was very apologetic about Scotty Barnes and the fact that I was too low on him in the preseason. I still think I was too low on him, but we're starting to see more of what I was expecting from Scotty Barnes this season, where 20 points, 12... I mean, the rebounds are still a lot higher than I thought, to his credit. So the rebounds are still there. The steals have still been there higher than I thought. But those block numbers, which we did say in the Sell High video, the first one of the season, that was going to come down. He's only had 1 block in the last 6 games after averaging 2 blocks in the first couple of weeks. So obviously that's going to be something that was never going to stick. He's currently the 25th ranked player after being like 13th for the first like 2 or 3 weeks. So he's fallen back a fair bit. He's actually averaging less than 20 points per game at the moment. He's averaging 19.8 points, 1.3 threes, 8.2 rebounds, 5.4 assists, 1.2 steals, 1.1 blocks, 48% and 70. That looks eerily similar to what I was projecting him to do this preseason. The only thing that's a little bit higher than what I expected is the rebounding numbers. And the steal numbers are a little bit high, like 1.2. I think I had him at like 1 steal per game. But that's very close to what I was expecting him to do. So I just find that really funny that, after all that hoopla at the start of the season, that I do think he's looked better, and I do think that he will be better than what I initially predicted, but maybe not by as much as what we thought at the start. And, his preseason rank was 44. Maybe he ends up like 43, 41. Which I don't think if you drafted him at that point is a major win. It's not a major like L, but that's why I sort of said that at the start he was a bust, because you're drafting him at his ceiling. And we thought maybe that was looking dumb because his ceiling looked like it could have been a top 20 player. I'm not so sure anymore because those blocks I don't think were real. And obviously he's averaging fewer than 20 points per game because Siakam's there. If Siakam moves, then we might see those first 2 weeks of Scotty Barnes return. But it's unclear if that's going to happen at this stage. Jakob Poeltl had the 29 minutes, so that's good. He just had a bit of a stinker game here. I wouldn't panic too much about that. He's been underwhelming this season with the minutes a bit up and down, but at least in this game, it wasn't due to the low minutes. It was just because he wasn't playing that well. I think that's all we need to talk about on this one. OG kind of did his thing. He's been a bit of an underwhelming player. I think that I'm not as certain as some other analysts that he's going to be bouncing back in a big way. Yes, the steals can get better, but it's a new coach as well. And Nick Nurse was very good at getting a lot of steals out of players. You see players like Gary Trent Jr. not getting as many steals. So maybe OG steals don't get back up to the league leading level that he was last year. And if that comes back a little bit, that's a major factor of his value. So I think he can be better, but I also don't think he's going to be dramatically better than what he's doing right now, which is why I have not talked about him as a buy low candidate, because there's a scenario where this is just kind of what he's doing. He's still a really good player, but from a fantasy point of view, I don't know if he's going to dramatically improve from this. The Indiana Pacers, we had a better game from Miles Turner, or at least more minutes from Miles Turner today. A little bit annoyed as of someone who has him on my fantasy team about his minutes going up and down, but he got a lot more today and played really well. 7 from 11 from the field, very efficient. 2 threes. He had 8 rebounds. He had 2 blocks. He had a steal, 17 points. Anytime he comes out of the gate really strong most games and looks super aggressive. And when they get it to him, it looks really good. And then a lot of times they just don't go to him for a long time, and it kind of is a bit weird, but he was good in this one here. Obi Toppin returned to the starting lineup, so had 1 game on the bench, returned to the starting lineup, so that was weird. So Old Mate wasn't there this game, so I guess, I don't know, is that a fill-in start? Is that going to be something they switch back to? I'm not too sure, but either way, he is very up and down and not reliable. He's probably more of a 16-team, maybe a 14-team league player if you're looking for points and threes. It's a very hit-and-miss game with Obi Toppin. And let's talk about Buddy Hield. I probably buried the lead a little bit there, but he's been nuts since starting. Obviously, he likes to start. He does not like to come off the bench, it seems. 31 points, 7 triples. I think he hit like his first 5 out of 6 triples. Went a little bit colder towards the end there. I believe you could... Obviously, he's a must-add player. If he's on the waiver wire, you have to go and add him. Could there be a period here where he becomes a bit of a sell high? I think that there could. I think that there could be a moment where if people out there are believing that he's going to be the top 60 Buddy Hield that he was last year in terms of a ranking point of view, then you could maybe, if you're good at talking to people enough and persuading people enough in your trade discussions, you might be able to do a sneaky execute a sneaky sell high with Buddy Hield after back-to-back big games. If you can't get like a top 75 player, then I don't know if I'd bother. I just kind of enjoy the ride at this stage and be prepared for the fact that he's not going to shoot 7 of 12 from the 3-point line, and he's not going to score 31 points most games. And there is a scenario that maybe later in the season he goes back to a bench role, depending on how well this Pacers team is doing. But obviously, really good game here. And like I said, must-add play. You've got to go and grab him for now and see where this goes. Tyrese Halliburton continues to be amazing. I had him at number 3 in my rankings and just in love with the way this guy plays. I absolutely adore the way this guy plays. I think he's one of the best players in the NBA right now. I think he definitely deserves to be in and amongst. It's so early, but he definitely needs to be in the MVP discussion, at least through, what have they played? 14 games so far, 16 assists, insane, 5 threes. Every time he shoots, it just looks like it's going to go in, and love his game. So he continues to do his thing. Benedict Mathurin, not good enough. I think he had those 2 games after I said you could drop him. I don't know. Should I say drop him now and maybe he'll go off next game? Drop him. I think you can hold on to. You can definitely drop him. Not much else to talk about here. Chugging along. The Houston Rockets versus the Memphis Grizzlies. Santi Aldama came back down to earth. He was limited a lot by foul trouble in this game. Only played the 22 minutes because of the 5 fouls. And his usage was well down. I think last game he had 27 shots. Obviously, he fell way short of that one in this game. And only had the 8 points, 2 rebounds, and a block. Don't panic and drop him again. I do think that he's someone you need to hang on to because I believe that it's going to be more like the last game than it will be this game. It won't be as good as last game, but I think the role will be more like that moving forward. Jaren Jackson Jr. was all right here. Still only the 1 block. I don't know. The blocks obviously isn't tough to rely on. Maybe the blocks come back when Jar is back, but he's been a little bit underwhelming so far this season with the block numbers. And Desmond Bane, 26 minutes, 4 fouls, so maybe that limits him a little bit. 23 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, and a steal. Hit 2 threes, 90% from the free throw line. It's all pretty good. And so far on the season, Desmond Bane is... Where is old Desi Bane ranked? He is the 20th ranked player when it comes to 9 category rankings. In a -1 sense, Desmond Bane is... What's that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He is the 31st ranked player, which is about where I had him ranked. And honestly, I think you'd want him to be doing better than this with no Ja Morant. So I'm pretty happy with where I had him in the preseason. I think it's played out kind of what I expected. Those huge steal numbers have slowed down a little bit from the start of the season. If you can execute a sell high for him and get a top 25 player, I would be doing so with Desmond Bane. I don't think that he's someone that we should be viewing as a second-round guy moving forward. Or even after Ja Morant comes back, a third-round guy. I don't think he will be able to provide that for you. So if you can sell high on him based on his ranking numbers and what he's been doing, I would be trying to do that now, not waiting till closer to Ja Morant comes. I'd be trying to do that now. Not too much else to really discuss about this team. The Grizzlies, not the best performance from them. The Houston Rockets, we had a really good game here from Jalen Green. Finally shot efficiently. Still only 50% from the field and not very efficient from the three-point line, but overall a solid game for 34 points. But even his good games are not that good. You look at 34 points and you go, "Whoa, great, 34 points, awesome." 2 rebounds, 4 assists, and a steal. Only just 50%. It's just a positive. 3 threes, okay. 5 from the free throw line. That's good for him. I don't know. Just as far as your great games go, if that's your great game, I don't know. Not that exciting, but maybe I'm just being a hater. Alperen Şengün, 11 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, and 3 blocks. Only 9 shots, which is interesting. Maybe he just didn't need to because they were all over these guys. And I don't know. This team kind of just did everything that we expected them to do. Fred VanVleet had 2 steals. His steals have been down, so his ranking's been down a little bit, but maybe his steals aren't going to reach what they did last year, but I do think he's going to be better. This is a good sign for that. Tari Eason is not someone we need to worry about here. 19 minutes, and that's before Amen Thompson comes back. So if you're stashing him, you're really waiting for an injury, and it needs to be an injury to someone like Jabari Smith or Dylan Brooks. One of those guys needs to get injured for him to ascend into value. Until that time, I don't think he's worth holding on. I think he's a guy that you have on your watch list, and at any second that news drops, you go and add him. And again, it's going to be big steals, rebounds, blocks kind of a thing. And he'll be good then, but I don't think he's really worth holding on to for the most part. Let's go on to where are we up to? Minnesota versus the Philadelphia 76ers. And my guy here, Paul Reed. We all got so excited. We're like, oh, Joel Embiid's out. Oh, I'll fire up Paul Reed. And then the starting lineup comes out. Marcus Morris is going to start. Excuse me? Have you seen this guy play in the last 2 years? And look, in all fairness, 16 points on 50% shooting, hit 3 of 5 of his threes. He was a -7, but to his credit, he didn't play too poorly. But I thought for sure, after all that shit that Nick Nurse was talking in the preseason, we're going to play Paul Reed and Joel Embiid together. He's going to be ready to step up. He's going to play way more. He's going to be doing a bigger role than he did last season. You finally have an opportunity. No Joel Embiid. Let's just see what he can do. And obviously, he played well, but just start the man. Far out. What is Marcus Morris doing to get minutes and starting jobs in the NBA? He must have some dirt on some coaches out there. I don't know. Something's going on. Fishy. Anyway, he only played 16 minutes because he had 5 fouls. So, I don't know. If he didn't have 5 fouls, would he have played a lot more? And we saw Reed play 14 minutes again? It makes me a little bit nervous. But anyway, if you streamed him like I did in the Roto League that I'm in, 10 points is whatever, but really good efficiency, 9 rebounds, 1 assist, 2 steals, 4 blocks. This is why we got so excited about Paul Reed and the prospect of Paul Reed. He's a defensive stat monster. In a points league, not as interested. It doesn't equate to big fantasy scoring. In a category league, it's huge. It's great. It's amazing. And so if we can guarantee he gets 25 minutes, he's a top 100, top 70 guy. Lock it in. But obviously we can't do that. And even when Joel Embiid goes out, there's this bloody question mark that's been thrown our way. I think Nick Nurse is going to kill Tyrese Maxey. That's my thought process here. I think he's going to kill him because he has been playing insane minutes, and I wonder if that is catching up to him because he's started to fall off a little bit. Still decent here, 8 assists, 3 turnovers, 16 points. He missed all his threes. And I just wonder, Nick Nurse, is he going to do the Fred VanVleet to Tyrese Maxey? You know how Fred VanVleet was great? He played to his big minutes, and at the end of every season, he had these knee issues, and to be missing the fantasy playoffs. Is that like what we're going to see with Tyrese Maxey? I don't know. I'm a little worried. Maybe it's cause for a sell high. I think he can continue doing the production he's been putting up. I don't think he's going to be a first rounder. Please don't think that. I think he might be able to be a top 25, top 30 guy. I'm a little worried that Nurse is going to kill him with the amount of minutes he plays. And D'Anthony Melton continues to be solid. Obviously, poor efficiency here. This is the D'Anthony Melton experience. No steals here, which is kind of lame, but he did have a 3 and hit in all 9 of his free throws and 3 assists, 6 rebounds, and he did have a block. He can continue to do that. And yeah, not too much else to discuss in this game. Tobias Harris did Tobias Harris things. Continues to do exactly as I expect. The Minnesota Timberwolves, let's talk about Anthony Edwards. He was good, very good. 31 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 steals, hit 5 threes, and a perfect 4 from 4 from the free throw line. And his free throws, to his credit so far this season, have been great. Hold on, no, I lie. I must have been looking at someone else when I looked it up before. They've been improved. So far on the season, he is averaging... I'm not got that wrong. He is averaging 84.7% from the free throw line on 5.1 attempts, which is nearly a 10% increase from last season on equal amount of attempts. Could he be the Shai Gilgeous-Alexander of this season? It's what we wanted and hoped for him. The field goal percentages are 0.8%, so a little bit better. The blocks, however, are not there. So on the season, he's averaging 0.3 blocks compared to last year's 0.7, and that is the reason that he's ranked at 33 and not in like the teens. But I think that in terms of what we had hoped him to do, he is doing exactly what I think a lot of us hoped him to do, and I think so far it's been a big success if you've drafted him in the second round, especially if you drafted him in a punt field goal percentage point of view. I was always more drafting him in a punt free throw build because I could always cover up his poor efficiency from the field with like a Giannis or those big field goal bigs. But his positive in free throws so far has been a really nice development for his game. So I think that despite his ranking not being that good, I think it's so far a success for him. Karl Anthony Towns continues to do good things. 23 points, 11 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, 2 blocks. Really, really great game, and he's flying at the moment. And Rudy Gobert had 3 blocks, 13 points, 11 rebounds. Only missed 1 free throw. His ranking sucks because his free throws suck, but in a punt free throw build, he is doing really, really well. We were looking at who was going to benefit with Jaden McDaniels out. And if we look here, we had Nickeil Alexander-Walker with 29 minutes. Didn't do a whole lot in that time. Only had the 6 field goal attempts. Hit a 3, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, and a block. I'm not that excited. Maybe in a 14-team league, you have a look at it. But I don't know. I don't think the upside's all that high. And Kyle Anderson played 28 minutes. And in 28 minutes, Kyle Anderson can do a lot of things. He didn't do a lot in this game. Only 5 rebounds, 3 assists, and 1 block. But if this is going to be the norm for him moving forward in 28 minutes, he can have probably top 100 fantasy upside because of the other things outside of scoring that he does. Rebounds, assists, steals, blocks. He can probably hit a 3 per game as well. So I do think that he is the guy that's going to be the biggest winner as long as Jaden McDaniel is out. He's kind of build fit specific, but in saying that, I still think his overall production is worthwhile for you to grab, and he'll benefit you in some way in category leagues. In points leagues, it's a little bit less exciting, but still I think a guy that you could have a look at as a back-end short-term kind of stream option. Nothing else really to talk about here. Naz Reid played 22 minutes. We'll touch on him a little bit. 3 steals and a block is nice. Now, was this because, the game was close-ish. We had 36 minutes from Towns. So if Reid plays more than 20 minutes, again, maybe a little bit of a short-term boost. If you're maybe punting the assist category, you can have a look at a Naz Reid as a back-end kind of guy for short-term value. You could do worse. I don't think it's going to be something you have to grab and can't miss out on, though. All right, we're getting there, guys. We're getting there. I'm going a little bit long on this one. I'm talking too long. Too excited to go live. Let's go to the Sacramento Kings and the New Orleans Pelicans, which is the next game here. De'Aaron Fox picked back up into a better game. Not as good as his previous games before the last one, which sucked, but 26 points, 5 assists, and a steal. He only hit 2 threes, where he's been banging them in recently, but 2 you'll still take. He's been very good this season. I do think he can be among the lead leaguers in points this season, but he will not be shooting as good as he has been so far this season from 3, but he will be scoring a lot of points, I do believe. Sabonis, solid. He's continuing to do what I expected from him, so not too much to say there. And Harrison Barnes, as much as you want to say about the guy, if you're playing 41 minutes, that's streamable. That is definitely streamable. He is very empty, but points, threes, free throw percentage, you can stream that in. It's useful. Not someone that after a low volume day you need to keep him, but he is still an option to stream despite him being incredibly boring. He can still obviously play 41 minutes and score 22 points and get perfect 6 from 6 from the free throw line. So that obviously has its use. And Kevin Huerter, he's cooled off. He's cooled off in a massive way. 20% from the field. The 2 shots he did hit were threes, but he's going to do this. You don't have to drop him, but he's also not must roster. He'll be better than this, but you've seen the fluctuation from him from week to week, so who knows what to expect. He's never a guy I'm rolling out there confidently into my starting lineup, but if you don't care about defensive stats and field goal percentage, he can have a role as a points and threes kind of guy. But yeah, you're now living the experience of Kevin Huerter, who when it's all said and done, he'll be 120th. With, a few games at 80 value, a few games at 160, and it kind of just lends itself to the middle. Chris Duarte started instead of, who was that? Keegan Murray, and he didn't do much with it. Kind of sucked. And the return of Trey Lyles. Good game here from him. 3 threes, 12 points, 8 rebounds. Not really something we have to worry about him, but maybe in deeper leagues, it is noteworthy the fact that he has returned now. And now that the team is looking a lot healthier, Malik Monk, it's still useful for streaming value. The free throw percentage and the threes and assists are worthy for streaming, similarly to what we talked about with Barnes, but he's by no means someone that you need to keep on your roster after a low volume day that the Sacramento Kings play. New Orleans Pelicans, this is as obvious of a sell high for Jonas Valanciunas as I've ever seen. Larry Nance Jr. had his first game back, played 12 minutes. I believe he's going to slowly start to ramp up. So the 28 minutes that Valanciunas played, you might go, oh, he's playing 28 minutes next to Valanciunas, next to Zion. I'm not getting suckered into it. The blocks also incredibly fake. He had no blocks in this game. He is someone that is going to be rosterable. He's not going to be a drop candidate, which there was potential that was going to happen early in the season. And to be honest, that still might happen. But he obviously has earned himself, with the way he's been playing, some, at least 20 to 24 minutes a night. And in that time, he can give you good points, rebounds, and solid percentages. The blocks are not going to be there to this extent. He's probably more of a 0.9 blocks guy, but I talked about him in the Sell High video. It would have aired this morning or this afternoon in your time. He's still a sell high, in my opinion. Get anyone inside the top 75, and I'm very, very happy to sell him for that. Herb Jones. He kind of did Herb Jones things, fell off from an efficiency point of view, 3 steals and a block and 3 assists. Someone asked me or told me that they traded Herb Jones for who was the other? For Kyle Kuzma, and everyone seemed to clown that guy. Look, I get it, man. Their value is totally different. If you're in a punt point situation, then Herb Jones might be more valuable to your team because he gives you the steals, he gives you the blocks, he gives you, I was going to say more assists, but maybe not Kyle Kuzma these days. He's probably not going to hurt you from the field and the free throw line as much, although he kind of did in this game from the field. But I get it. Like, they're totally different players. You might look at one and laugh at, trading, but in categories, that's the beauty of it. Everyone's team is different. Everyone's need is different. So players have different values depending on that need. So I don't mind that. Dyson Daniels still got the start. I believe he'll eventually move to the bench when CJ is back, but it's good to see him playing with a lot of the starters here because I do believe he's going to be the future point guard, combo guard for this team, and I do really like him. Obviously, his fantasy value is starting to wind down, but I still would hold on to him for a little bit longer. Had no assists in this game and shot poorly. I think he can be better. The 29 minutes is still encouraging. I would hold, and at least till CJ comes back. And even when CJ comes back, I'd probably hold at least for a couple of games and see how things go because I think he can have some interesting fantasy value. Jordan Hawkins, if you desperately need threes, you can hold on to him. But otherwise, I think he is going back into that droppable zone. He is now back down to 21 minutes. Still, had a couple threes, perfect from the free throw line, but he needs the shots, he needs the volume, he needs the minutes, and when everyone's healthy, he's not going to get that. Zion and Brandon Ingram both did their thing. Still no defensive stats for Zion, but his field goal percentage is coming back up, and he is kind of back on track with what we expected from him this season. All right, OKC and the Chicago Bulls. The Chicago Bulls lost this one. There was no Zach LaVine in this game. Trade rumors. Obviously, I'm being a little bit sarcastic there. I don't think he's, at risk of an imminent trade or anything like that. So we had Caruso start. We also had Patrick Williams start and didn't do much with it. There's really not too much to talk about this team. It was good to see DeRozan get 13 free throw attempts and hit all 13 of them. He had been a little bit underwhelming so far. That's a big boost for his value. Nice to see. And Vucevic is doing like I kind of expected him to do. He is currently, I think, the 68th ranked player on 9 category rankings. He's even lower than that. He's in the 80s in -1. And look, you look at his stat line, and it's pretty much what I projected so far, or at the beginning of the season. And it's not a bad stat line, but he's just not excellent in any one category outside of rebounds. His efficiency is down from last year, which we did flag in the preseason. He's shooting 46.6%. It's not far off where I expected him to be. I sort of thought he'd get closer to 48%, so maybe it comes up a little bit, but it might not either. So I think don't view this as a buy low for Vucevic. View this as this is what he is. I think this is exactly what he's going to continue to do for the rest of the season. Kobe White had another good game here, 7 threes. I maintain that he is someone that someone on your league can have. He's going to have his down nights. He's best suited to a punt field goal percentage build. But he and Keontae George, I kind of see very similar. They're going to have their issues, but points, threes, assists are valuable. And in certain builds, they're going to be someone that you can start on some nights and going to have their use and have good games like this. And I think I've heard a few people say starting point guards don't grow on trees, and they have their value, especially in the right build. In the Thunder, Chet continues to be incredible and amazing. 18 points, 13 rebounds, 4 blocks, a steal, and 2 assists. I think he's going to be a second rounder this season. I had him in the 40s in the preseason, probably too low. You like to be kind of, pessimistic or conservative with rookies, and he's just impressed me. He's so freaking good. Monster game also here from Shea. 40 points, 12 assists, 17 of 18 from the free throw line. My God, that's a huge boost. 3 blocks as well, a steal. That's a huge, huge game. Probably the line of the night, to be honest, without having that in front of me. 10 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists, and 2 steals for Giddey. Continues to kind of underwhelm. I don't know if those assists are coming back, to be honest. I think he's going to be someone that is going to end up being a little bit of a bust for fantasy basketball. Not enough to drop him, but I think it's better than this, but I don't know if it's by much. I do think that he is going to end up being a disappointing pick this season, and nothing else really to touch on this game except for Isaiah Joe. He's shooting the lights out right now, and if you need a threes and point streamer, you could do worse than jumping on old Isaiah Joe and getting him into your lineup. All right, we're nearly there. We're going to go to the Clippers and the Spurs. And we're continuing to have Russell Westbrook come off the bench. He had 27 minutes in this game. That might be enough if you've got the right team. In a points league, it's definitely enough for me to hold. In a category league, if you can live with his poor efficiencies and turnovers, if you're in an 8 category league, I'd probably hold. If you're in a 9 category league and those couple of categories, percentages and turnovers are issues for you and you want to win those, then I don't think he's going to be someone you have to hold. In fact, you could probably drop him right now. Otherwise, I'd give him a little bit more time. We saw Kawhi Leonard go off. And just before, I just nearly forgot about this, but how about our guy, Coach Popovich, just telling everyone, stop booing and let the guys play. That's not how we do things here. I want to know your guys' thoughts. What are your thoughts on booing at live sport? I'm of the opinion that, booing is not, I don't think it's disrespectful. I don't think it's, not classy. It's just because you're booing someone doesn't mean, you think they're a shit person or they're a bad guy. I think, you're booing the opposition. You're going there as a fan of the team that they're playing against, and it's just part of the competition, and they're professional athletes, they can cop boos. I don't think it's a big deal, but if Pop doesn't want people to boo, then we listen to Pop. He's a nice guy. I just thought that was wild. I've never seen anything like that before. But anyway, back on track here, fantasy basketball. Paul George continues to keep doing really, really good things. Interesting to see that his usage has remained consistently higher than Kawhi Leonard. So even though Kawhi had a good game here, he did it on really good efficiency, and Paul George is getting the majority of the shots at the moment. James Harden is not. He got a lot of free throw attempts here, missed a few of them, but this is why I said he's not a top 20 player. He's more like a top 30 player, and maybe he's only a top 40 player because, I don't know, maybe it's still early days and he's still feeling his way through this, but 7 field goal attempts, the same amount as Zubac. Now, obviously, he had the 12 free throw attempts, but yeah, that's not the best signs. He obviously still had the 9 assists, a steal, and a block, so he's going to be good still, but again, this is why I thought he was a bit of a bust at where he was going, because there was no guarantee that he even returns or beats that ranking or round where he was getting drafted, and he had that added risk. Obviously, it's worked out fine. He didn't miss much time at all, but I don't know how much better it gets than this moving forward. Let's go to the San Antonio Spurs, and Wemby had another huge line. 22 points, 15 rebounds, 3 blocks, 3 assists, a steal, hit all 7 of his free throws, hit a 3, and was efficient. This is the all-rounder. This is an amazing, amazing line, and I think we're going to get used to seeing this a lot down the stretch of the season. He's going to get better and better and better. And if he is a first-rounder after the All-Star break this season, I'm not going to be shocked. In fact, I don't know if I'm ready to predict it yet, but there's a 40% chance, I think, that he is, after the All-Star break, we're going to talk about him being a first-round producer in that time, because rookies get better, man, and he is not a normal rookie. Jeremy Sohan had a big game, 19 points, 5 rebounds, and 7 assists. No defensive stats, but that's definitely a positive sign for him. Not a positive sign for Trae Jones, though. 4 points, 2 rebounds and assists, and 3 steals. You can go ahead and drop Trae Jones, I believe, unless you're in a deeper league and you're really punting points and you desperately need assists and steals, but the minutes just aren't there, man. Malachi Brennan's getting into the starting lineup, even when Vassell's on the bench. And yeah, I just don't think the upside's worth holding on to him. So I think he's a drop. You can move on from him. And shout out to Charles Bassey, who had 3 turnovers in 2 minutes. Woohoo! Vassell obviously played 27 minutes off the bench here. He's good, and it's just about those minutes ramping up for him to return top 60 value, in my opinion. I still think he can be considered a buy low. Let's go to the Golden State Warriors and the Phoenix Suns. And shout out to Scott Foster and the Chris Paul feud, because he tossed him. He sent him out of here. I think it was in the second quarter. He said, get out of my face. Chris Paul in 17 minutes, 6 points, 6 assists, 2 rebounds, 50%, 1 of 2 and 4 from 4. It sucks, right? For your fantasy team, that's not the best, but the 6 assists is still okay in 17 minutes. He sent him out of here, and to be honest, I think fair enough. Chris Paul irritates the shit out of me with how much he complains. Same with the Draymond Green, and those are the techs that I think are actually legitimate. The tech on Giannis where he dunked and flexed, I think those ones are the bullshit ones. But the ones where the guys are just annoying the referee, swearing at the referee, calling him a, you know what, and I think that's fair enough. Tech him, get him out. I actually think that's fine. I don't think we should be encouraging that behavior, because when you play basketball in, just social leagues a lot of time, everyone's complaining, and it really promotes that kind of culture, I think, which I don't think is the best thing for basketball. So I don't know why you guys probably don't give a shit about my thoughts on that. But anyway, he got teched and thrown out. 17 minutes, that's the reason why. Steph Curry had a down game. I know there's someone who was mentioning in the comment section below, are we worried about Steph? Now, I think the person who was asking me was talking about an ESPN points league specifically. Steph Curry was never a first-round points league guy, because in a points league, the value of his three-point shooting is not captured there. Even in an ESPN league where you are, I guess, it's boosted a little bit, his assists are down, and I think are going to remain down. Despite him scoring really well, he doesn't have the other stats to elevate his points scoring. So I do think that what he's been doing so far this season in a point scoring sense, that average that he's been doing in your league, I think will continue. Now, in a category league, he's been doing great because he's shooting very efficiently. He's been getting, I think he's on average or close to career high mark in threes per game. Obviously brought down by this game by going 1 of 8. So it's a down performance, but he's obviously been great. And as long as he stays healthy, I still think he'll be sort of a top 6 or 7 player in the NBA fantasy category leagues. Klay Thompson. I might have tweeted this one out a little bit prematurely, because after that, they got spanked and he kind of sat down for the rest of the game. But I don't think he's washed. Shout out to Josh Lloyd over at the Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Love the Washed Watch segment that he does over there. It's pretty funny. Great music. I don't think Klay Thompson is washed. He is one of the best three-point shooters of all time, and I think that doesn't just go away. We saw this last season. In fact, I think there was on the broadcast, they were talking about him shooting less than 40% over the first 6 weeks in 5 of his last 6 seasons. He actually is a historically poor or slow starter in the NBA. So him getting off to a slow start at age, 33, is obviously concerning. And his value is, when I say he's not washed, I'm not saying he's going to be an amazing fantasy player, because his value is very concentrated in a few different areas. And if you don't need threes, and if you don't need points, then he's not going to be very useful for you. So please understand when I say that, I don't mean that he's going to be amazing, but he's also not going to be a guy that you drop, I don't believe, unless you are, for whatever reason, punting threes and points and you've got Klay Thompson on your team. I don't know why you would do that, but that would be the reason you drop him, obviously. But I think he's going to bounce back, and I think he's going to be a guy that's going to be around a top 100, top 110 player. Give us 3.5 threes per game, close to 20 points per game with not a lot else. And he is starting to show signs of that, and I think that he's going to have the longest leash in the world because of what he's meant to this franchise, and they will let him shoot his way out of shooting slumps, which I believe is what's happened to him at the start of the season. Whereas at the start of the season, we all panic, but if it happens, in January, we don't panic, because at least we've got that data beforehand, where right now we're kind of projecting. I think he will be okay. Ride the bumps. I don't think that Andrew Wiggins will be okay, and I've said that he's a drop, and I think he can stay on the waiver wire. If he was on my waiver wire right now, I don't think I'd pick him up, because he's just not contributing very much. And yeah, I don't think I see it getting much better. If you've got one more game, I believe, before Draymond comes back, and Dario Saric, 22 minutes, it's fine. But I think if you have something on your waiver wire, he can be dropped and moved on from. The bench kind of nearly got them back into this game, so they kind of played them a little bit longer than the starters. So it wasn't quite necessarily a blowout in this game, but they were getting blown out until the bench brought them back into this game, which is why a lot of the minutes are lower. If you're wondering about that. Phoenix Suns, Devin Booker continues to make his charge towards first-round value in fantasy basketball. 10 assists in this game, 25 points, 13 of 14 from the free throw line. I have him now projected, I think, in my -1 rankings at like 13 or 14, right on the edge of that first and second round. I think he's might even get to the first-round value. He's clearly their point guard, which a lot of people were thinking was Bradley Beal this season. Never thought that myself. He's been great, and I know some people doubted whether the fact that he can be a 7-8 assist guy, and I think right now, I know they haven't played all three, Beal, Durant, and Booker, but there's no way you can take the ball out of Booker's hands. He's just looked great out there and looked very comfortable as their leading distributor in this team, and I think he can kind of keep this up. Maybe I think he's averaging 9.2 assists right now. I think that maybe gets closer to like 8.5, 8.2. Which maybe drops him from the mid-first round to sort of early second. But I think that's as far as it goes. I think he's going to be really good. Kevin Durant obviously did really good things as well. 15 of 15 from the free throw line, so big free throws from their two stars. Who played well in this game between Gordon and Allen? Well, they both kind of played okay. You'd probably prefer Gordon with the 3 threes and 3 steals. But they are both okay streamers, whereas Eubanks has fallen back a little bit in terms of minutes. He still had the 3 blocks and 6 points and 6 rebounds in this game, but the minutes have been down recently, so the confidence in streaming him in is a little bit less than what it was maybe a couple of weeks ago. All right, let's move on to 2 more games. We had the Portland Trailblazers versus the Utah Jazz. Return of Scoot Henderson in this game, but we'll talk about that in a second. We had in this one Kelly Olynyk start, and just like bloody DeAndre Hunter, when everyone wanted to use him and stream him in, he was shit. When everyone had him on their bench or dropped him, he was great. 13 points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists, a steal, and a block. Perfect 5 of 5 from the field and 3 from 3 from the free throw. And that's an awesome, awesome line. What does it mean? To me, I swore. I don't know if I can trust it. The fact that he only had 5 field goal attempts, they also kind of got pumped in this game as well. He's good. You could take a swing if you've got some dead weight, but Walker Kessler's not that far away. So I don't think I'd bother with Kelly Olynyk. Maybe in like a 16 or 14 team league you can have a crack, but I don't think I'd bother in 12s, although he could make me eat my words there. 12 points, 11 rebounds for John Collins. Dropped off a little bit after the sell high video with no blocks here. That might hurt his ranking a little bit. So again, maybe you can still execute a sell high, but a little bit harder after a poorer game. Keontae George, 16 points, 7 assists. Again, free throw percentage, 33%. It's bad. 7 of 7 from the line, however. He had a steal, which he'd been lacking. I don't think he's going to be a huge steal guy, but better than what he had been doing. And like I said, I view Kobe White and Keontae George quite similarly. I think you might get more scoring out of Kobe White and more assists out of Keontae George, but the overall value, I believe, is similar because of their deficiencies in field goal percentage and turnovers, lack of defensive stats. But if you view one differently to the other, I think I'd reassess that. I think they both should be viewed very similarly. And Jordan Clarkson, his sell high window is clearly closed now and continue to ride the roller coaster with him. On the Portland Trailblazers side, like we said before, we had the return of Scoot Henderson. He is someone that I have got in the industry pickup league, and if he is on your waiver wire and you can afford to be patient with a player, understanding the fact that he's going to have a lot of turnovers, he's going to be poor from the field, but in January, February, March of the season, he could be top 70 this year, averaging 18 points, 5 rebounds, 8 assists, and a steal and a half per game. Then I think you go and add him. In a points league, you absolutely go and add him. In a points league, he is a must-roster player, I believe. Again, you're going to need some patience, but if you can get 7 assists in 17 minutes, that's very useful. And rookie point guards always suck. He's been worse than I thought. Obviously, he's coming back off an injury here, and he had a minutes limit in this one, started off the bench. but I do think that he's going to be fine moving forward. He was someone I was very high on in the pre-draft process, and nothing's really changed my mind on that. He just needs to kind of chill out a little bit and going to get used to the NBA speed. So he is someone that I do consider a must roster in points. And I think someone in your league should be willing to hold Scoot Henderson as a luxury stash. I would definitely be prioritizing him over someone like a Bilal Coulibaly. I'd probably be prioritizing him over Keontae George. Now, Keontae George is going to probably give you more value immediately, but Scoot, I think, will have the higher upside in the long run. Shaedon Sharpe was a little better from an efficiency point of view in this game. 14 points, 4 rebounds and 4 assists, a steal and a block. He is not a sell high. I don't think he's a buy low. I've had both those questions being asked of me. I think that he could be someone in a few weeks we're thinking about dropping unless you really need points. Probably more of a points league player, but it's just kind of okay. Brogdon was back, even in 24 minutes, dominated 20 points, 8 assists, and a steal. You can go and add him if he's available, and you can clearly go and drop Skylar Mays, who only played 6 minutes, and I believe all 6 of those minutes was in garbage time. He registered no stats and only missed his only field goal. And it was amazingly a negative 14 in that 6 minutes. So, go ahead and drop Skylar Mays. Last game of the day, we've got the Dallas Mavericks versus the Los Angeles Lakers, and the Lakers squandered a comeback with LeBron James having one of the weirdest turnovers I think I've seen, and one of the poorest decisions I think I've seen him make at the end of games. Poor performance or poor minutes here from Derek Lively. Only the 19 minutes. Didn't play much in the second half. They opted to go more with, weirdly, Rashawn Holmes, who had 23 minutes. It's a bit random. Interesting decision. Let's watch this and see if this becomes an issue. Not doing anything dramatic with Derek Lively and dropping him by any stretch. Again, I've got him in my industry pickup league. Never once considered dropping him. He is definitely useful in category leagues. Points leagues, not so much, but category leagues, definitely I'm holding. But let's watch this situation and see if they do some weird shit. Kyrie Irving was great. Luka Doncic was great. No surprises there. Derek Jones Jr., not so great. Back down to 19 minutes. I can't get a read on him, but I think I'd just be happy to leave him on waiver wires. Same with Grant Williams. Tim Hardaway Jr. was missing his shot, so his value was non-existent. And that's the Tim Hardaway Jr. experience. And yeah, that's pretty much it from the Mavs. Nothing too exciting to discuss there. LeBron James had 26, 9 rebounds, 7 assists, 36 minutes, 4 threes. Hurt you from the free throw line a little bit here, and no defensive stats. That was elevating his ranking number, which we talked about on the sell high video. Now, some people will still look at this line and look at his ranking for the season. The popcorn numbers are there. You could probably still execute a sell high, in my opinion. I would be cashing out because I fear that with the minutes he's playing, that he also had a bit of a foot scare there as well. So keep an eye on that. He's going to be questionable for the rest of the season. So, yeah, a little bit nervous. I'd be trying to trade LeBron if I could for a top 25 player. I'd take probably anyone in the top 25. Anthony Davis, 10 points, 13 rebounds, 4 assists, a steal, and a block. Only 10 field goal attempts, my dude. Like, what's the go there? Like, why is D'Angelo Russell, Rui Hachimura taking more field goal attempts than you? Like, what are we doing, man? Like, what's going on? Get some shots up. Like, feel free. 40%, but... yeah, just shoot it more, man. The other numbers are great, but it's weird that he was quite passive in this game. D'Angelo Russell is maybe someone that... he had a good line, 15 points, 5 assists, a block, hit 2 threes, and was perfect from the free throw line. But 24 minutes, they opted to go a lot more with Reeves down the stretch in this one. So, little concerning. And you still remember have... bloody hell, who am I? I'm blanking on someone. Who's the guy that... far out. Oh, you guys are going to be yelling the name out to me. Hold on, I'm going to have to find this out. He's on my... Gabe Vincent. That's the guy I was trying to think of. It's been a long podcast. They're still going to get Gabe Vincent coming back into this team, so just watch D'Angelo Russell. If you can execute a sell high on him, I probably would, because he's probably been playing over his head, in my opinion, anyway. And there's a few other factors here that I can see a world where he, regresses a little bit, sees a dip in his playing time, and just overall isn't as good as he started the season out to be. He's been good, better than I expected, but I think it could be a sell high moment for him. Austin Reeves, I think this is exactly what he can continue to do. 17 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, no defensive stats. fine. That's what he's going to continue to do. Nothing more to discuss there, guys. All right, that will do it for our review here. I will just, because the very kind man has donated a nice little bit of money here with a super chat here. I will answer your question, MWN. Would you trade LaVine, Ayton, Turner for Giddey, OG, Jalen Johnson? And geez, that's a lot of players, mate. Far out. You're going to have to make me do maths on this one here, because first of all, when you're doing a points league trade, all you're kind of doing is projecting what points you expect them to score, add them all up. Is it something that you can, see yourself benefiting in? So would I trade LaVine, Ayton, Turner, and Giddey? What's that? 1, 2, 3, 4 for Jalen Johnson, Dennis Schroeder, for OG. No, first of all, no, I don't think I would be doing that. I can kind of eyeball that one straight off the bat. No, I would not make that trade. You're trading 4 players for 3 players, and I don't think the players you're trading for are even better than the 4 that you're giving up. So no, I would not do that trade. I think you're losing a fair bit there if you are receiving OG, Jalen Johnson, and Schroeder. That would be a bad trade in my opinion. So yeah, I would not do that. I'm not going to be able to get through all these questions, guys. This podcast has already been going on way too long. So thank you very much. Hopefully during the chat, guys, you guys can have been able to help each other out. But again, reminder, if you enjoyed this one and you liked it live, let me know down in the comment section, if not in the chat, but on the comment section so I can review it later. If you liked it live and want to keep it that way, let me know. And also let me know by giving this video a big thumbs up. If this video gets lots of thumbs up and lots of likes, then I'll keep doing it live and we can do it and get it out sooner to you guys and get talking about fantasy basketball while you guys are all awake over in the States. Thank you very much for listening, guys. Have a very good Thanksgiving if you celebrate that one. I do not, so I will be at work and thinking of more things that I can do with my fantasy team. So enjoy your holidays, guys, and I will catch you guys next time. Bye.